National Report Court is back in session. Today's case, American Airlines is suing a popular travel website which sells tickets that lets people save some money by exploiting a quirk in airline pricing. So that popular quirk is called skip lagging. That's when you book a multi-stop flight, but you don't take the entire itinerary in order to save some money. So for example, if I wanted to visit my family in St. Louis and for some reason I find a cheap flight from New York to California with a layover in St. Louis, instead of completing the flight, I'd just walk out of the airport at the layover.
Sounds like a good idea, right? Well, American Airlines now is suing Skip Lagged Incorporated, accusing the website of deception. The airline now threatening to cancel every ticket that Skip Lagged has sold.
All right, how about that? So taking up today's case, we're happy to welcome in Wendy Patrick. She's a prosecutor and Newsmax columnist. Also with us, David Gelman is an attorney with the Gelman Law Firm. Welcome to you both. Daneen Borelli is standing by because she's going to be listening into the case. But for the purposes of this segment, Wendy is going to represent American Airlines. David will represent Skip Lagged, and we're going to present the arguments for Daneen to listen into. So let's dive in. American Airlines, again, is accusing Skip Lagged, it's this website, of quote, tricking consumers into believing they can tap into some kind of secret loophole. And Wendy, American Airlines, says you can't do this. Can you make the case for American Airlines why this is not okay?
Absolutely. So American Airlines is very clear in this lawsuit. They're not alleging it's necessarily contrary to law, but their policy is you buy a ticket, you take the flight. And if you don't, if you skip lag, you will land on the no-fly list, not for danger, but for deception. And I would also add that American is pointing out that this is a suit filed in federal court, also alleging Skip Lag has never been authorized to resell American Airlines tickets. They've never been authorized to represent themselves as able to sell these tickets, which is why they're able to rescind them. So this is an area where, especially when you're talking about summer travel, back to school, going into the holidays, you can't take a seat that airline could have sold to somebody else just based on your deception and wanting to save some money. And the last thing I'll say is American Airlines has pointed out that you don't necessarily even save money by skip lagging a seat.
David, Skip Lagged CEO is saying this: our millions of users who keep coming back clearly speaks for how much value we bring to the travel industry, contrary to American Airlines' claims. David, this in some ways seems like free of speech argument here. Would that be their defense or something else?
No, thanks for having me, guys. And there's a reason why the American Airlines and just the airline industry in general, their approval ratings is probably lower than President Biden at this time. They keep trying to mess with the consumer. The consumer is paying so much money for these tickets to go to their loved ones or vacation or wherever it may be, and all they're doing is keep trying to push them back, push them back. Now, all this is they're saying that they're interfering, Skip Lag, with the contracts of American Airlines with their consumers. Skip Lag is not doing any of that. In fact, Skip Lag on their website and in their agreements are saying, you have to look at all the website at the American Airlines website, read their terms, and know that if you buy a ticket from us, you are going to be violating their policies. That's all you're doing, all right? So you have to indemnify us. They're not doing anything wrong. They're advising all their clients about all this. And frankly, American Airlines and the airline industry in general should be looking at this and be like, this is what we're dealing with right now. This is our problems. What about bumping all the people when they pay for a full flight? What about all the other issues about layovers and about delays and everything like that? So this is the worst argument for American Airlines. All they're doing is just making everything more complicated and making it so that more people just dislike them.
Well, yeah, I mean, hey, no one likes having their flights canceled, especially when you've got to either get out of a city or arrive in a city. But Wendy, what do you make of David's argument here? This idea that Skip Lagged is being transparent, and they say, if you use our services, you can risk finding yourself on the no-fly zone list.
I feel sorry. I feel for my colleague, and I know we have to make the respective arguments, but whataboutism is not a defense. and it's not going to fly, so to speak, in this case. And I almost think that the fact that Skiplag even says on its website that what they're doing is a below board, shall we say, has no jury appeal. So it's a very steep hill to climb. I see a settlement in the future, certainly not a trial.
David, go back to my previous question. You know, skiplagging is possible because of the way airlines compete on prices, right? But is what the company is doing ultimately illegal?
No, it's not illegal. It's not against the law. It's against the policies of the airline, but it is totally not against the law. In fact, there was a lawsuit from United from 2015 showing that they sued Ziplag for the same reason. And you know what happened? It was dismissed.
Okay, so skiplag at your own risk, I guess. You only have a limited number of airlines that you could be kicked off of before you ultimately don't get to fly anymore. Wendy and David, stand by. Wanted to welcome in Deneen Borelli, who's been listening to these wonderful arguments, by the way. Deneen, how are you leaning when it comes to this case?
Wow, this is a very interesting story. But look, violates the airline's policies, first of all. And skiplag is not authorized to be selling these tickets. So I side with Wendy, and we'll see how the lawsuit goes. But I do agree with Wendy's point.
Okay, all right, Wendy, take that one for the win in your column. Again, we'll watch out how it plays in real life, but with that, National Report Court is adjourned. Our thanks to everyone here, Wendy, Deneen, and David.